My name is Diana McDonald. I am a math coach here on the South Shore. And this work actually arose teaching the story structures for addition and subtraction through a request that I was working with a teacher, grade 1 and 2 teacher. And it's a very challenging part of the curriculum, but it's a very important one. And it's outcomes that tend to be really mimicked from grade primary right up to grade 6. So I will get into exactly a little bit more about that, but how it came about. But I really learned a lot, and I thought maybe this could be helpful. So my hope today is that maybe you can come away with one nugget that will perhaps help you in your teaching of this. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to start, and thank you so much, Morgan, for being a moderator. I will mention as well, this is being recorded just to let you know that that's happening. Okay, so here it is, the structures of story problems. So I think what we'll get to is we'll just start with a video, and hopefully this will play and give us all some food for thought. Here. Okay, and
Adventures in Technology. Hi, Diana. It's Morgan. I can't see the video at my end. I don't know if other people are seeing.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, that is good to know. Sorry about this. Okay, so that wasn't playing, Morgan?
No, and I apologize. I didn't pipe up sooner. I thought you were just like trying to figure it out, and then I realized, no, I think she's watching it. She doesn't realize.
Oh, okay, and I didn't. I'm so sorry. Okay, so I will totally try it again. Just one second.
It looks like a couple of people in the chat are saying they can't see it.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so here we go. Sorry, this is a new forum for me as well. So here we go. Okay, we'll try this.
We can see that now, the screen with the video.
Okay.
Let's see if it plays.
Okay. Thanks again.
There are 125 sheep and 5 dogs in the flock.
Can you hear that?
How old is the shepherd?
Yes, I can hear it.
What? There are 125 sheep and 5 dogs in the flock. How old is a shepherd? I don't know how to solve this.
Why is that?
Because it doesn't talk about anything about the shepherd. like doesn't say how old, like how long he's had them or anything. So like it doesn't give me any hints about anything. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. There are 125 sheep and 5 dogs in a flock. How old is the shepherd?
$120 old.
How do you know it's 120? Can you please write down here? Now, how do you know that the shepherd is 120 years old?
Because I subtracted 125 minus the 5 dogs in a flock.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Can you tell me, how did he know to divide?
Because it doesn't say the difference, or it doesn't say the sum, or the project, or something.
I see. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, I'm hoping that you all could see that and hear that. That's just an interesting take on the start of what we're going to talk about. I'm not sure if you see this with your students or if this is common, but that's sort of where we started off with this problem of story problems. So we'll continue. So why teach story structures? The research shows a need. So looking at that video, Robert Kaplinski's, you can see that there's a lot of misunderstanding. There's a lot of students just jumping to number crunching. They're unsure of even computation choice. And we do see that in our Nova Scotia assessment results as well. It's those multi-level higher questions, higher thinking questions that students often struggle with. And we can call them story problems if you wish. They're also the foundation of operations. This is where all of these come from, the plus, the minus, the multiply, the divide. It is embedded in story structures, and we want to develop mathematical understanding. And that only happens through context, right? Through story structures. There is a connection of action in a story to an operation. They can see this. There's an opportunity to see the relationship between operations when we teach story structures in a thoughtful, meaningful way. And it is the launch of problem solving and mental math strategies. So using pictures, acting out models, all of that starts with story structures. All of their building of their mathematical fluency, if you want to think of it, starts with this really important outcome. It's also an opportunity as a teacher to observe and guide our students' thinking, and we can witness and validate learning progression. And we know from our curriculum guides that learning in mathematics is a progression from concrete to pictorial to symbolic. And you can see in that video, a lot of the students jumped right to the symbolic. They really didn't understand what they were doing. There's actually no models available, which was unfortunate. And I think we need to just back up the train and really do this well and do it the first time nice and slow and thoroughly. So here's an example from the grade 1 curriculum guide. For those teachers who do teach grade 1, you'll know this outcome, N09. So here students are expected to demonstrate an understanding of addition of two one-digit numbers and then the corresponding subtraction. And they do this in that progression of concrete to pictorial to symbolically. And the join is your adding and your separating is your subtraction. Equalize and compare is also a way of adding and subtracting, and part whole. These performance indicators are really important. They really want you to act out story problems. So that's where we're going to start, and that's what we worked on with this teacher, and I can take you through what we did. And these are presented orally or through shared reading, and that's where you start first with your story structures. Students then model their story problems. They use manipulatives or pictures, and then they find and they share solutions with their counting strategies that they discover and develop. Then we move to the number sentences, and that represents the actual story problem. That connection is really validated. Students then create their story problems, and those connect to their experiences, and they create story problems even for given number sentences after they've proceeded through this process. So this is the grade 1 and the grade 2 curriculum guide. You'll see this for your addition and subtraction. If you haven't and you come across it the first time, it's a really rich diagram. This is what students are expected to know. These are your story structures for addition. These are for subtraction down here. So there's 10, and I recommend just starting nice and slow with your result unknown. That's your story problem there. Pat has 8 marbles. Her brother gives her 4. How many does she have now? So you'll start with that as a class. You'll be acting that out, and we'll go forth from there. And then you'll build on some more, adding ones and giving your students exposure to all of the story types for addition and then for subtraction. And you can see how the symbolic, the equations come after that. Grade 3, same outcomes. You can see, so grade 1 and grade 2, it's exactly from the guide the same way. The only thing different is your numbers are now getting larger. You can see the students are using into hundreds here, probably using base 10 blocks as opposed to counters. Grade 2, they do start with base 10 as well. So you're using your manipulatives. Number lines are beautiful for this as well. Grade 4, you can see this outcome is so important. It's now NO3, but it still is story structures for addition and subtraction. And it's N11 for grade 5. And look, the same structures, just larger numbers. And grade 6, it's in the appendices as well. So this is just a really important outcome. And I think what happens is we sometimes push through a little fast. I was guilty of it too. And students then end up in junior high not sure what a story is in mathematics and how it works. And then they really just panic and they start number crunching. So here's some starting point thoughts. You start with one story problem at a time. I recommend, just like the guide, start with your joining, which is your adding, and your result unknown. And you pose a contextual problem to the class, something that's sort of real life that they can relate to, and you review it, and you ask the question, and you talk about what is a question. In grade 1, they aren't really sure, right? So you act it out together. Then you have your students draw a picture. Then I will model the symbolic of what they're doing as well. While they're doing that, I'll do that on the whiteboard. And then they create their own stories, all based on that one story type, join, result, unknown. So everyone's sharing, everyone's learning, and they might even have different strategies for coming at their answer. For example, some might count up, some might use subtraction to solve an addition problem, but they're sharing and they're learning from each other, which is beautiful. And all the while, you're formatively assessing. And then you can move to, once you've acted out, you've done the drama, they've done their drawings, you've modeled a little bit on the whiteboard what's happening, then you move to your concrete materials. And I have a template here that I can share, and that might be helpful to model exactly what they're doing, but using counters and talking about that. Because there is a difference in holding up a counter and saying, this is what this person that we just had in our story, we're going to represent with the counter, and going to a template. So students need time to think about that. And then when they're ready, you start your new story structure. So you move through that chart that we just had here, into perhaps a change unknown story structure after they've got the result unknown done and down. And you basically go through them all that way. So here are some pictures of some students that I worked with developing story problems. So we were probably working on the first one. You can see there they're presenting it to each other. So I would have started with, perhaps there's some students on the mat, some more join them, how many students will be there now, and we would have acted that out. And then they were creating their own story problems, they're drawing pictures, and they're all about action of joining. All right, and here I am at the board. I'm modeling a little bit on a template, and I'm going to bring in the equation and talk about addition. We've got hula hoops there that they're using to model with the template as well. And here's a beautiful picture. I've given them dominoes here for some numbers, and I've asked them now. We've done some of this. We're into this for a few days. That one there, I've asked you create a story problem with two numbers that are represented on your domino, and we want it to be a joining story problem. So they are doing this with a partner, and then they're drawing a picture about their story, and then they're sharing it. A lot of time spent doing that, and it's well worth it. And this girl here, she's starting to work on the symbolic. I'm not pushing that right now, but she's experimenting with the numbers and the signs of what's happening in her story. And you can see this little boy here in the red. He's actually, we must have been working on subtraction. So he's got a nice picture there of starting with 6, 4 being taken away, and there's 2 left. I can totally understand. And here now we're getting into a template that we're using as a class that's a little bit more consistent, but they all can represent their own thinking in their own ways, which is really important. This person here is experimenting with the signs. I believe that's supposed to be 12. Take away 5 equals 7, but that's fine. She's got that on her template. She's showing us what's happening there. And here I am working on a number balance and the equation. We're tying that into what's happening here. Okay, so joint story problems, they involve quantities. They have an action that causes an increase, and they have a question to be answered. And they have a beginning, a middle, beginning with an initial amount, a middle with a change amount, and an end, which is your result amount. And I think what really helps with the story problems is relating it to language arts. And that was a really turning point for me when I started working with these children was, let's talk about what we know of a story. So we picked up a story, we looked at a storybook. It has a beginning, it has a middle, it has an end, it has 3 parts. Well, a math story has the same thing. But the beginning is now talking about a quantity. It has an amount. The middle is also talking about a quantity, but something is changing in that middle part of the story. And an end is your result amount. And all of this is actually a precursor to the addition number sentence. And I will show you now a template. And can you hear me okay, Morgan?
Yes, I can hear you just fine, and no one's written anything in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
monitoring the chat though, so if anyone has any issues, just write it there and I'll
thank you so much. Okay, so here is our joint template. So we would have done some drama. We would have worked out a story problem that I gave them. I get everything from the guide on result unknown. The students are acting it out. They would have drawn pictures. Then they would have created some of their own. We would have spent a few days on using dominoes and giving them context situations, the gym, the soccer. But I want to see a story problem with you and some more people joining and you asking a question of how many are there now. So that's sort of getting them into that framework. And now we're going to model what you're doing on a template. So here is the initial. This is the start of our story, our math problem. And here is the change. And I actually I tweaked this a little bit. This is from Van der Waal, but I made the change dotted because I feel like that really helps the students see, oh, this is something that's changing in the story. And there's our result. And that, of course, is our end. So what I'm going to do is actually, oh, and here's our question mark. And that's a really important piece. And I'll go through that. So I think the best way to show you this is I'm going to stop sharing here. And I'm going to go into a hover cam. And if I lose you, I will totally pop back in. So no panic. Okay, so I'm going to share my whole screen. And we'll see if to my hover cam here. Okay, so are you still with me?
Yes, we are.
And okay. So this is our joining template that we would have been working on. And this is the beginning of our story. This is the middle or the change, and this is the result. So I'm going to give the students a question, and this could be it here. There are 4 children on the mat, and we have a story mat in our classroom. 2 more join them. How many children are on the mat now? Before we do anything else, I'm going to have the students look at their question mark. We've talked about what a question is. This is in grade 1, and you might have to do this in grade 2 or even up further. And talk about what is the question in the story. Well, what is a question? What are we trying to find out? It's something we're trying to find the answer to. How many children are on the mat now? So is that going to be at the beginning of the story, at the middle, or at the end? So students will talk about that, and then they will model, because we would have modeled this. They'll say, okay, well, there's 4 children on the mat at the beginning. That's the start of our story. I know there's a change. There's 2 more that are joining. So that's something that's new that's happening in the story. Well, I can go put them this way. And the question I'm trying to solve is, how many are on the mat now? Okay, so this is our first story structure. What's beautiful about this is as we get through the story structures, we're going to be moving that question mark around because we know that this can also be starting here or here. We might have to solve the initial or the change. The students don't know that yet. So I will ask the students then, everyone holding up, so we are all thumbs up, we're in agreement. We're trying to find that last part of the story. We've acted it out, and now these are our people that we had on the mat. I remember the 4 here, and now the 2 join. So let's do this action by following the arrows. I can see this now. There's the 6 on the mat. I'm going to lift this up, and these 6 are going to go through following my arrow, and I now have my answer to my story. And we can also talk then about strategy. How do you know it was 6? Well, some students will say, well, I took 4, and I counted up 5, 6. Beautiful strategy. You can talk about number lines as well if you want to illustrate that. Some might say I started with 2 and I added up 4 more and I got to 6, and that's fine too. And what I would do here next is, as a teacher, I would then incorporate my equation and I would model this on my whiteboard just to make that connection, because this is an outcome as well. There's the beginning of my story, and there's my 2. And I'm going to try my pan balance. I'm going to have the students over. I'm going to put this here, and they're going to make sure it's balanced, which they love to do right there. And I'm going to model that 4 and 2, and I'm going to see if 4 and 2 is in fact the same as 6. So I've got my 4 right here. Nice to have them all in one color. Those are the 4 students. This is just another representation. There's the 2. You can see that's not balanced at all, but does 4 and 2 equal 6? So we are going to ask some students to try this, which they love. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3. Nothing much is happening. So I know 4 and 2 is not equal to 3, but I'm going to keep going and see if we're right. 4, 5. Oh, something's happening. It moved a little bit. And 6. So students can then see that equation 4 and 2 visually is indeed equal to 6 as it balances. So that is just a nice tie-in that I think can be powerful, another connection to another outcome. So the students have moved from the physical to the concrete, of course, and then to the visual. This is our visual, and now they are doing the symbolic, tying it into here. So I'm going to try another type of story problem. So we're going to say that we have moved on now to, instead of result unknown, I think we'll do the next one on our chart, which you will see from your curriculum guide, is, I believe, change unknown. So here we go. There are 5 children on the mat. I would have presented this. We would have acted it out a little bit first, and then I would bring in our template, and all the students would have these on their desks. So we're going to talk about the story problem first. There's 5 on the mat. We're going to visualize. Some more join them, and now there are 8 on the mat. How many children join them? A little bit different. We're going to talk about how this is different than the last question. And I'm going to ask the students to hold up their question mark and show me what is it we're trying to find. We know this is the beginning of our story. This is the middle, and this is the end. So we're going to read it again. There are 5 children on the mat. So students, they could even, some of them will do this with their counters. And they'll put their 5 right there. And some more join them. Well, students will quickly figure out that that is something that we don't know. But then I know that there are 8 children on the mat. So you don't want the children getting 8 new counters because we already have our 5. These 5 are on the mat. These 5 are going to be part of that 8. All right, so you need to talk about that. But how can we make 5 become 8? Well, students will talk about that and think about that, and they will figure out very quickly 5, 6, 7, 8. And I will always ask, okay, let's go back and see if it works. So we've got our 5, and let's put our 3 under here, and let's go back over our problem. Okay, so there's 5 children on the mat. Some more join them. Let's move that over. 3. And now there are 8. Is this 8? 2, 4, 6, 8. And we can talk about that's 4 groups of 2. Interesting. That does make 8. So we have solved that there were 3 here when we started with 5. Kind of a nice way to do it. And then I'm going to relate this with my equation on my whiteboard. And I'm going to do this. And we're going to talk about that this now is what we don't know how to solve. So how did the students do that? And we're going to figure that out. Some of them will have counted up, and some might have actually counted back. And started with your 8 and went back 5, and they found out their answer there. And that's a question mark, sorry. And these are your mental math. That's the beginning of your strategies of counting on and counting back. Right? And we accept all personal strategies that make sense. So that's beautiful. So we're going to actually now test this first equation. We're going to take our hand balance. And we're going to start with the 5. So here we are. Some more join them. But now there are 8. So I don't know how many more, but I do know there's 8 over here. Okay, so there's my 8. Right there. So how many more than 5 to make 8? So I will do this with the children. 5 plus how many makes 8? 1 more is 6, 1 more is 7, and 1 more is 8. And that is our equation that we just figured out from our template, right? So 5 plus 3 does in fact equal 8. That validates that thinking. And again, just a nice tie-in to doing a problem, making lots of connections. Okay. So I'm going to stop, and if I lose you here, trust me, I will be back. I'm going to stop sharing. Hopefully I won't lose you. And Morgan, am I still here by any chance?
So your video of your face is still there. And now in the presentation mode, we're seeing your desktop. We can see everything you're clicking on your computer screen there. So and I don't know if you can hear me, Diana, but you have gone off. Wherever you are, we'll wait for you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So what I'm going to do is actually give you a chance. Or is that a bit echoey?
I don't hear an echo on our end. You just came back on just now for us.
Oh, okay.
We're just seeing you now. You were gone for a little bit. But no, I don't hear any echo.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful. Okay.
It looks
So
like there might be a little bit of a delay, maybe in the internet connection, but it's coming through. Yeah.
okay. Sorry. Okay. So what I'm hoping to do is give you a chance to try this. And I'm going to put this in the chat. And if you can grab a Google slide, go to this, and just try the story prop. and we will share. So this is another type of joining. I want you to use perhaps your question mark, um, and any equations, any tools. I did put manipulatives there. So, and if you need any help with the Google slides, certainly reach out. And we'll check back in a few minutes. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
And you can certainly put your name on your slide if you wish. There is a text box. And if you haven't used Google Slides, you can insert a text box, and that's how you can write. Okay, does anyone have anything they'd like to share at all? I can certainly, I can share what we have so far if you want to say something. Certainly, looks great. So, and Morgan, on your slide, if you want to say anything at all, go right ahead.
Sure, I found it very interesting to hop in to the template, and I think I might have encountered in my own mind some of the the confusion that students have as well, because I started my tendency was to say, okay, I know 9 for sure, that's the end, so I put the 9 at the result end after I'd placed my question mark, and then I sort of hesitated, and I could see how, like, I was like, well, I know 4 as well, but I wanted to add 4 counters to the change, but that would have put so many on the board. And that's something I see happening with children as well, adding more counters than to represent all the different steps, but it's as opposed to moving them. So I could see how really like demonstrating and working with the template a lot would be so important so that they understand how to move the counters. Diana, you're muted.
Yes, I'm just getting a echo. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You were just kind of cutting out a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you hear an echo when I'm speaking?
I don't. I just hear a little delay. I don't know what other people hear though, but no one's mentioned.
Okay. So. It's just might be on my end. I was trying to.
Yeah, maybe if you have 2 devices, maybe I don't know if the microphone is picking up. If you
I don't know.
Muted one of them.
Right. Yeah, I tried. It wasn't doing it at the beginning, so I think I might have hit something when I went off.
All the adventures, yeah. Technology. Yeah.
So apologies. So it looks great. I'm just going to see if there's something else. Share. This looks great in this slide as well. And I like that you have 2 equations and you were showing, and you've got your question mark in the beginning. Yep, and I see that slide 7. Nice, lady. And then I love the slides. I don't know if you use them a lot, but they're wonderful. You can also ask students to make a comment. So I'm going to do that right now on each other's slide. Nice work. I'm going to do that on Nicole's. Nice work. Comment. And then she can see. And always nice to take a break and just see what each one is doing. When we were teaching virtually, I love the Google Slides. So if you haven't had a chance to play with them, certainly I recommend. So let us stop sharing that. Go back to your presentation for a minute. And I'm actually going to show you, I feel like we're a little slow on time, a little rushed on time. I'm going to ask you to take a look at one more. So you're going to look at the chat, and I've got the link for Jamboard. And if you could just go to the Jamboard and grab a problem, it's one of those 3 join, and it's through different grade levels. So you're going to see manipulatives for grade 10 blocks for grade 2. There might be a decimal or a fraction question for grade 4 or 5. But the story structures are still the same. So take a look, and if you want to try one, and we'll share You just have to go through the pages. So you'll turn the pages at the top. And I will share that. So here's the first page. I put my name on it. Put my question mark. I can move around. To put your name, just grab the sticky note there. Put your name on it. Here's some manipulative. These here you can certainly copy. And if you want something else, you can grab the address, find them that way. So there's a grade primary, grade 1. If you want to try a grade medical advance, page 3, manipulatives are ready. Page 4 is grade 2 on page 5 and 6. Grade 3 is 7. Grade 4 is 8. Grade 5 is 9. So I'm just going to share a few of these. They're neat. We should have more time. If you want to say anything, please. We'll get to that. So it looks like slide 2. Leanne, feel free. I can also read it if you wish. So, oh, that's right. I think you use your audio. I'm sorry. So I love your equation. You can see. So she's got her pad has 9. I like the different colors. So she's got a 9 blue. Her brother gives some more. There's like a question mark. You're not sure. That's what we're trying to figure out. And she's got her 9 result, and she adds 2 more to make her 12, and she's got her 2 equations to represent that action. Beautiful. That would be lovely to share. The next one, Elaine, if you don't mind, I love your work as well. So you can see now we're using a different presentation model, but the structure is the same. So Cal has some pennies. There it is. We found 4 more, so that would be the change. And now it becomes 11. So she's got her 11. How many digits difference? And I love this. She's got the question mark plus 4 equals 11. Beautiful. And there is another, some students 11 go away 4, you get their 7, which is the change, but that's beautiful work. So again, we're taking that problem, breaking it down, we're talking about what we're trying to find out, and we're using our lines, okay, to get that understanding. Then we've got our symbolic to represent all that we're doing, and we have other representations for the symbolic too. So we've got personal strategies developing in a slow, thoughtful way.
Diana,
Yes.
Morgan here. I just wanted to pipe up. I don't know, no one's written anything in the chat, but your audio it's very choppy. I wonder, and I know we're close to the end of the session, but I don't know if anyone else is struggling as well or if it's connected to the echo problem, but just thought I'd mention.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I don't know how to
It's okay.
fix that, but I know it's choppy when I'm hearing you as well.
Okay, yeah, it might just be the internet connection. Jennifer is saying, yes, I'm sorry I missed the instructions for this because the audio was lagging. There's a lag in the audio, so yeah.
So I don't know how to fix that, so I'll just try to go slow and I'll share my presentation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, though.
Yeah, and I think are the little links that are in the corner there on the sticky notes of the Jamboard slides, are those links to the pictures or the manipulatives that you're using, or are those?
They're virtual manipulatives.
Okay.
Yeah, so you could copy the link and
Copy.
put it into your Google and get to that.
Okay.
Just another option of representation. There's some nice lines as well.
Okay.
And there's the next slide. I love that, Nicole. She's got her $12 at the beginning, her question mark, and then she's got her $23. And how much money did Sam earn? So there's your $11. I think it is. So those are just showing you different grade levels, but the same structures. So I'm just going to share some in great work. I'm just going to move ahead here. And here is the joint story problems for part whole. And I'll just hold this up. Not sure if you can see this, but that's what I'd recommend. The part whole. And Pat has 8 blue marbles and 4 greens and 4 how many does she have? 12. So I would slide those up, and then you have 12. These are great for using your at home. Not really action anymore, but still addition. Comparing Sarah building a tower with 12 cubes, I would use Russia, and I would build 12, and I would compare it to Sam and put them side by side, and then you can see that you have your different in cubes. You can represent it as addition or subtraction. So those are just another way. Those would be 5 join. Separation, very simple, and I will share this with you. Same thing. And there's your template, a little bit different. You can see it's a bigger beginning and a smaller result because we're taking away. I'm just going to move through here. Is there any questions or anything in the chat you want to ask? And I do have one more video I would like to share.
I can relay any questions that people write in the chat.
Yeah, that would be cool. Thank you. And I'll share this.
Here's a word problem. There are 295 students in the school. School buses hold 25 students. How many school buses are needed to fit all the students?
Okay.
So how many school buses?
320.
And how'd you figure it out?
Well, when you read it to me, you figure out what is the number that tells you all the information, like if it's adding, subtracting, multiplying, or division. And since I heard all, I figured, oh, that's plussing. So I plus 295 and 25, and I got 320.
Okay.
I'm sorry about the audio, but I just wanted you got the big idea about using those words and not getting stuck and students looking for clues or words. We just don't want that. We want to understand. And I will share this video, and hopefully it'll be a lot easier for you to watch.
Thank you. The video, interestingly enough, the audio on the video was fine for me. It's just your audio that's choppy. I don't, yeah.
I'm so sorry.
For next time, just, I don't know if there's any, might just be the internet, but who knows?
No, you know what? Ever since I came back, I'm sure I must have.
There's nothing to go from. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not really familiar with this. I've used Google before, but not this type of it's presentation. Okay, so closing thoughts. You can just take a read through those. So just if you go back to the Jamboard, the last page, if you want to add your address, I will share the presentation with you. And my apologies on the audio, but I do hope it was at least a little bit helpful for you. I can help you in any way. Reach out. I'll put my email address as well. And thanks for your patience.